Wednesday, August the 24th edition of the Carolina Weather Video. A lot to talk about. We're going to spend a lot of time in the tropics coming up as this video rolls along and take a look at the return of some heat and humidity to some extent as well in coming days. Here's a look at the Carolina Harbor portion of Carowinds here during the 5 o'clock hour this morning. Obviously, all is quiet at this time of day, and the temperatures in the 60s and 70s out there across the region. Had a little bit of a hotter day in parts of the southeast yesterday compared to the day before. It was 93 for high in Jackson, Mississippi, 92 in Birmingham, making Georgia 95, even Charlotte and Fayetteville into the low 90s, but it still was not muggy yesterday. 93 in Columbia. It was 80s across the entire Triad viewing area yesterday afternoon, and again a little bit hotter around the Charlotte metro, but humidity values were still pretty low yesterday, so not bad at all. Temperatures this morning, 65 degrees in Raleigh. It's 67 during the 5 o'clock hour in Fayetteville, 73 in Columbia. And how about Boone? Refreshing at 54. These dew point temperatures still relatively low. Not tremendously low, but certainly not the 70-degree plus dew points we've had of late. And I think another day today with workable levels of humidity. The radar quiet locally and all around the region. Things are quiet. Now, eventually, when you get up to the Midwest, you find some areas of rain and thunderstorm activity. That's with a cold front that is still well northwest of our area. So a quiet weather setup for most of us. Now, I will say the mountains will pick up some scattered showers and storms this afternoon. Maybe one or two of those spilling into the immediately adjacent foothills. Here's your highs across the region this afternoon. Pretty similar to yesterday. Dew points also behaving fairly similarly to yesterday. So again, another day today with those workable levels of humidity. Now, as we get into the day tomorrow, we start to crank up the heat and humidity a bit. There's your triad specifics, by the way. Now, again, we get into the day tomorrow, the heat, humidity begin to crank just a little bit. I think the rain chances you see here overdone. I'm going to stick with a dry Thursday forecast outside of the mountains. And there's a look at your Thursday afternoon highs, and then it gets a little hotter and a little muggier for Friday. Again, rain chances pretty low. But here's your highs on Friday. Well up into the 90s in most spots, and Saturday looking really very much the same as a ridge develops overhead. Here's the 500 millibar chart off the European model, that ridge right overhead. And that's important because how strong that ridge is, and I think it will be pretty strong, will play a role in the tropics, and whatever can form from the tropical wave in the northeastern Caribbean likely gets shunted into the Gulf of Mexico due to that ridge. So let's start off with a look at what's happening. The big view across the tropics. Fiona's gone. That system has fallen apart as expected. But you do have this tropical wave in the northeastern Caribbean. More on that in a second, but let's look at Gaston that continues to strengthen. It's a very powerful tropical storm, in fact, about as strong as a tropical storm can be without flipping over to hurricane status. It's 4 miles per hour rather, away from becoming a hurricane, and it should become a hurricane later today. But Gaston is going to stay well out to sea, probably even staying east of Bermuda, out there in the Atlantic Ocean. So let's focus on the tropical wave in the northeastern Caribbean Sea. Again, it's still not very organized, no real sign of a low-level circulation at this point. Whenever necessary, a reconnaissance flight will fly in there and check out what's going on. Now, here's all the compilation of computer model charts in terms of the tracks for this system. Fairly good agreement into the Bahamas, and then from there you start to see some divergence, some modeling heading into the Gulf of Mexico, some up the East Coast. And assuming the speed continues at what it's at right now, which I do think it will, I think due to the intensity of this ridge, the Gulf of Mexico solution looking more likely to me at this point. Something similar to what the European has been showing. So here's the European model across South Florida and up to the Louisiana coast, western Louisiana, by the middle portions of next week. So let me show you all this in a little bit more detail. First of all, again, I mentioned the ridge. That's going to be the main steering influence on this. Here we are today, and again, this is the European model. We go out to Saturday, and again, there's that ridge over the Carolinas and the Mid-Atlantic, and so whatever comes underneath that certainly gets shunted to the west. That's the European model. Now, the timing on this on the GFS is a little slower, so by the time you have that wave get up to Florida, there's a weakness developing in the ridge, and that allows it to escape up the coast on the GFS. But again, I don't think that's the most likely scenario. This is a look at the GFDL model, has a weak system in the eastern Gulf of Mexico. This will be valid very early next week. And then here's a look at the Hurricane Wharf. And again, I think this is more likely into South Florida, and it's heading west at this point in time. The European model, again, brings us to South Florida, as I showed you, and then into the Louisiana coast. And let me show you the GFS. I'll step you through this. This is today. It's tomorrow, Thursday. I'm sorry, Friday. Saturday, the GFS still wants to bring a few afternoon storms. Can't rule that out, but I still think even over the weekend, the rain chance is pretty low. There's Sunday, Monday. All right, now, so finally, by that point in time, there's where you see what could be Hermine moving towards South Florida. And then from there, up it goes, up the Florida Peninsula, and then up off the Carolina coast from there at the tail end of next week. I think the timing of that's too slow. I don't like the GFS solution. I favor something like the European, which again, courtesy of weatherbell.com here. There's it crossing South Florida. That's Sunday morning, and then up to the Louisiana coast Wednesday of next week. Oh, hang on. There we go. Wednesday of next week. So we will see how all that plays out. All right, that is it for the latest edition of the Carolina Weather Video. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody have a great day, and God bless.